Did J.J. Abrams secretly get his idea for The Rise of Skywalker from a series of kids' books from 1992? So I recently rediscovered this series of books, these little treasures, when I took my kids to summer library at their elementary school, which is also my old elementary school. These are the exact copies of this book series, which is known as Star Wars The Jedi Prince series, which was released in 1992. I would have read them circa 1995, 96, something like that. I also bought my own copies of the series around that same time, which I have right over here. One, two, three, four, five. It's a 6-book series. I don't know why I don't have the first book in the series here. I don't know why I only have books 2 through 6. But whatever, that's not important. What is important is that a major story element from these books ended up being used in the Star Wars sequel trilogy from Disney like 25, almost 30 years later. Now, I loved these books when I read them when I was in like 2nd grade or however old I was, but since then, I had forgotten pretty much everything that happened in them except for a few key elements. One, they are about the continued adventures of, Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han and all of our heroes from the movies. 2, one of the main bad guys is named Zorba the Hutt, and he is Jabba the Hutt's dad, and he's just this big old bearded slug. And he's on a quest for revenge against Princess Leia because Princess Leia is the one who killed Jabba the Hutt, right? 3, there's a main character whose name is Ken, and he is supposed to be a Jedi Prince, whatever that is. We've also got such memorable characters as Grand Moff Muzzer, and that appears to be Mike Ehrmantraut. And also one of the other characters is a 3-eyed mutant who is supposedly the son of Emperor Palpatine. So after rediscovering these books at the old school library and flipping through my copies a little bit, I started to realize a few things about these books. First, I realized that some of the canon events in these books are absolutely bonkers. There's some weird stuff in these pages that just frankly makes no darn sense. And I don't mean like in the context of the Star Wars universe, I just mean like in the context of storytelling. This notebook belongs to Ken, South Jedi Lane. Even though I remembered this series very fondly, these books are not very good. Now, granted, when I say they're not very good, they are actually perfect for their intended audience, which was, 2nd graders. Like I said, I remember loving these books as a kid, and I'm sure in part they're responsible for my love of reading that, just evolved over time. You have to think of these books more as like the Saturday morning cartoon equivalent of Star Wars and not actual, canon events that were meant to carry on the story in a serious sense. In fact, and this is kind of wild to even think about now, but at the time when these books were written, there really was no Star Wars canon beyond the movies. These books are, surprisingly, some of the first ever Star Wars stories that were written by someone other than George Lucas. I also came to this slightly startling conclusion. You remember the character that I mentioned, the Jedi Prince named Ken? His backstory is that one day he was left as a baby in the care of these droids by a mysterious figure who seemed to be wearing Jedi robes. There's some speculation in the book, like, is he named after Kenobi? Is he maybe the son of Obi-Wan Kenobi? Well, remember the 3-eyed son of Emperor Palpatine that I mentioned? So it takes us the full 6-book series to get to the big reveal, but it turns out that Ken is actually the offspring of Palpatine's son. Rey is Ken! Now again, looking online, it becomes really clear that these books are not looked upon very favorably by anybody who is over the age of 10. And while these stories were never struck from the official canon or anything, I think most people pretty much consider them non-canon from the get-go. The series actually ends with the wedding of Han and Leia, which, it's kind of crazy that Lucasfilm gave the green light for such a huge event to happen within the pages of these Saturday morning cartoon caliber stories. Now, I'm obviously being a little flippant about this. I don't actually think that Disney stole from these books. I mean, the idea that somebody is Palpatine's grandchild, that's no great leap. You know, obviously, it's one of the very first ideas that anybody came up with. But I also think that this raises kind of an important point when it comes to writing in general. These books are just, objectively not good. But if the intended audience was children in the 90s, and if children in the 90s really liked them, loved them in fact, which I did, then can we really say they're not good? Or do they actually hit the mark exactly? Are they right on target? This is a question that's actually especially relevant when we're talking about Star Wars. I mean, think about the prequel trilogy. Those movies were made for kids. George Lucas said as much. A lot of adults really hated those movies, but kids loved them. They thought Jar Jar was hilarious. My kids still do. So I'm wondering, did anybody else out there who's watching this happen to read this series of books? Oh gosh, dropped them. So did you have fond memories of them? And the most important question of all, do you think we will ever get to see Zorba the Hutt in his own dedicated canon Star Wars project? I mean, I don't know about you, but I think he deserves his own spin-off show. We can dream. We can dream. If you found yourself wondering why the quality of this video is not very good, it's because I'm actually an author. I in no way, shape, or form have any aspirations of being a YouTuber. This is literally just my phone propped up against two books on my desk. A couple of my books are actually available on my YouTube channel. You can listen to the whole thing for free. It's professionally narrated by voice actors, professionally produced, no AI involved. I just make them free on my YouTube channel because I think it's kind of cool. There's some sci-fi, some fantasy. Check them out if you're interested, and give me a like and a subscribe if you found this video on the Jedi Prince series illuminating. Thanks for watching.